Chemical code of storytelling.
In 2009, a journalist named Rob Walker wanted to test a theory about human value, so he went on eBay and bought 200 incredibly cheap, mass-produced trinkets. Take this plastic horsehead, for example. He bought it for exactly 99 cents. Now look at this graph mapping the object's resale value. After Walker attached a short piece of fictional text to the listing, the price flatline rockets up to $62.95. The physical properties of that plastic horse never changed. The entirety of that $62 markup was generated out of thin air by a narrative. We tend to view ourselves as highly rational calculators, assuming we make our purchasing and life decisions based on hard data. But this bar chart paints a very different picture of our psychology. A raw fact barely registers in our memory. If you deliver that exact same fact wrapped in a story, it becomes 20 times more likely to stick in the brain. That massive spike in retention drives completely irrational consumer habits. It perfectly explains why a logical adult will gladly spend $10,000 on an Omega watch simply because they saw a fictional spy wearing it on screen. Storytelling is a biological hack. It successfully bypasses our critical thinking filters to convert an emotional reaction into physical, monetary value. When you read a dry, bulleted list of facts to someone, only the language processing centers of their brain activate to decode the words. But the moment you begin unfolding a compelling narrative, the listener's brainwaves physically synchronize with yours. Their neural patterns shift to mirror the exact rhythm of the person telling the story. Achieving that synchronization, getting another human being on your exact wavelength, requires you to trigger a highly specific cocktail of neurochemicals. This diagram illustrates what researchers call the angel's cocktail, a three-part hormonal formula necessary to hijack human attention. The base layer is dopamine. Flooding the brain with it produces extreme focus and a powerful sense of suspense. The mechanical trigger for dopamine is surprisingly simple. You delete the word "and" from your sentences, replacing it with words that force conflict, like "but" or "therefore." Stripping away the chronological list of events and replacing it with cause, effect, and complication creates a narrative engine that forces the brain to lean in. The second layer is oxytocin. This is the chemical driver behind human empathy and deep trust. You release oxytocin by providing specific character details and deploying severe obstacles, forcing the listener to recognize a shared human struggle. The final ingredient is endorphins. Using irony or prompting a laugh lowers defensive walls, making them open to creative thinking. Compare this to the devil's cocktail. When you subject an audience to a confusing data dump presentation, their brains release cortisol and adrenaline, leaving them irritable and completely closed off. Good writing mechanics are precise triggers designed to manipulate the endocrine system. You are physically altering your audience's chemistry with words. We require this biological access because navigating the world requires us to constantly make proposals. Every day, we ask people to commit to a project, buy a product, or join a cause. Delivering that hormonal cocktail slows down a person's natural skepticism. It earns you the necessary trust to actually make your request. Think of the story as the setup. You provide the neurological reward first, giving before you ask, so that when you finally make the proposal, the audience is already primed to agree. Historically, sharing a narrative was difficult. It meant scraping rare pigments onto stone walls by firelight. Centuries later, it required heavy machinery, ink, and the exclusive permission of publishers to distribute a single thought. By the 20th century, reaching millions of people meant navigating film studios and raising vast amounts of capital. Today, the friction of distribution has vanished. The hardware required to broadcast your ideas to the entire globe sits quietly in your pocket. Because anyone can publish instantly, the sheer volume of information has skyrocketed. The only filter left to separate white noise from true influence is the precision of your craft. Distribution platforms will continuously evolve, but the human brain operates on the exact same ancient chemistry. Master the mechanics of narrative, and you master the code to human behavior.